What's going on, guys? My name is Kyle and welcome back. A couple of weeks ago we gave the Lancer engine a really good clean, and the reason we did that is because there's a few engine components that I wanted to paint. But before we committed to painting anything, I wanted to get a really good look as to what the parts look like, what condition they're in. So now that it's clean and we've had a look over everything, we get to paint some parts, which is exactly what we're going to do today. I still can't get over how much better this looks after we cleaned and detailed it, but I guess that sort of just comes with the description. So like I said, there's a couple of parts that I want to paint, but today what we're going to tackle is something that I've kind of been putting off for a while because I've never done it before and I don't know how it's going to go. But we're going to paint our exhaust header. We're going to take it off, we're going to take off the heat shield, we're going to disconnect it from the rest of the exhaust and see how we go. I have no idea what I'm doing, I don't know how to do this, but we're just gonna wing it and hope for the best, I guess. So I've picked up a very specific kind of paint. I've got this one here, which is called VHT Flameproof. Now there's a reason that I went for this. There are a bunch of other paints that you can use on exhaust headers and things like that. This one is rated up to 2000 degrees Fahrenheit or 1093 degrees Celsius, depending on what part of the world you live in. But this is a very high temperature rated paint. But that's not the reason that I picked this, because there's other brands that do this sort of thing. The reason that I went with the VHT is on the back here, there's actually instructions on how to cure this on the car. A lot of these paints have a very specific curing process, so we need to paint the part, put it in the oven for 2 hours or whatever it is and let them cure. This one, you don't have to do that. You can paint the component, let it get touch dry, put it back on the car, and then it has some very specific on the vehicle curing instructions, like idling the car for 10 minutes and then letting it cool and then doing other things. So we'll run through that later once we've got it back on the car, if we can get it back on the car, I guess I should probably say. But that's what we're going to use. So we're going to use this Flameproof. It's black. It's going to help this engine bay look a million times better, because at the moment everything looks really good besides the headers. The headers are just really gross and old and just worn, which is fine. It's done almost 200,000 kilometers, but today we're going to give it a facelift. So let me show you what it currently looks like. So you can see just at a glance of the engine bay, everything looks pretty good. And then there's this. It's just old, very, very different to the rest of the engine. But hopefully today we can fix that. So I have no idea how I'm supposed to take this off. I know at the head there's 9 bolts. There's a heat shield cover here, and then I think it connects down there somehow. I have absolutely no idea, but I think the best course of action is to take off this heat shield so we can get a better look as to what the actual header looks like, and I don't know, make a plan from there. I have no idea how this is gonna go, and I'm very, very nervous. There's not many things that I've done to this car so far that has made me feel this nervous, so let's just set up the camera, I'll take the heat shield off, and I don't know, we'll see how that goes. By the looks of things, it's just a couple of 12mm bolts. Yeah, it's a 12mm, all right. Let's see how we go. That was a very tight fit for my hands, and if that is gonna show what the rest of this job is gonna look like, this is gonna be tricky. So this is what the headers look like without that heat shield on. So you get a much, much better view as to what it looks like. And I can see just in here that there's a plate that connects the top half of the header to that bottom L bend, I guess we're gonna call it. I don't know what the technical term is, but that's what I think we're gonna have to take apart, is this part here, and maybe separate it from the bottom section. I have no idea. I'm gonna jump under the car, we'll get the GoPro, have a bit of a look, and see what we're gonna do next. I don't know why I thought I was gonna get under this car without jacking it up, but just wishful thinking, I guess. So I'm gonna jack up the car, put it on some car stands, we'll get underneath it and see how to separate this top half of the exhaust header. All right, car's jacked up. Let's get underneath it and see what this looks like. All right, so we're under the car. This is gonna be very loud for you all, so I do apologize, but you can see there's 2 bolts right underneath that U-bend that we saw from the top. So I think what I'm gonna have to do is get in there with a spanner or a ratchet and try and just break that. I'm fairly certain that all I need to do is just undo those. I can also see above that there's 2 bolts in those brackets that are sort of holding it up, so I don't know if that's going to affect me either, but let's have a bit of a look, see what we need to do, and we'll get those undone, ready to take this off the top of the motor. Okay, so these are very difficult to remove, apparently. A lot harder than I thought it was going to be. I've tried using a breaker bar, I've tried to really wrench on them, but I just can't get them out. So I've hit it with some WD-40. I'm gonna wait 10 minutes and let it sort of get in there and do its thing. and then we'll jump back under the car and see if that's made any difference. Because right now, there is no way I'm getting them out without a little bit of help. So hopefully this will do a good enough job of getting into the thread and helping us out a little bit, but yeah, I'll come back in 10 and see what happens. All right, so I managed to get all of the 4 bolts that are underneath the exhaust header. I managed to get them out. All it needed was some WD-40. Who'd thought? So I sprayed those bolts with some WD-40, let them sink in for a little bit, and then I just had to use a breaker bar to get the nuts loose, and that's it. Now they're off. So what we're doing now is I've done exactly the same thing to the bolts on the top of the exhaust header. So I've sprayed all of the studs with some WD-40. I'm gonna let it just sit for a little bit. I don't know if it needs it because I haven't even tried yet, but there's no harm in just putting it on there, making it a little bit easier for us. And then we'll see if we can undo all the bolts that are holding it to the head. All right, I've got the light set up so I can show you exactly what it is I'm talking about. So you can see down here, we've got a bolt there, and there's one right behind it. And then on this side, we've got a bolt there, and then that one right behind it. So I've undone all of those, and now I've just got the studs on the head. I've got them soaking with some WD-40. So I guess we'll just try and take these off now and see how that goes. All right, so I got all of these stud bolts off, and you can see that the manifold is ready to start moving. So I think I'm gonna try and just take it off. I've tried to separate the bottom half from the top half, and it just doesn't seem to work. So I think once I get this top half away from the block, it should make it easier to try and separate the 2 pieces. But yeah, I guess it's now or never. So let's try and take this apart and get it off the engine. Let's go. Oh, there we go. There we go. Oh, there we go. Oh, she is filthy. Filthy. Keep that gasket on there, I don't want to lose that. Okay, so I got the manifold off, and you can just see, just look at it. It's not good. It's definitely seen better days. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get some wax and grease remover. I'm gonna give this a really good wipe down and clean, and then I might even use like a wire brush on the outside and try and get it as clean as possible. We don't want anything on here when we try and paint it. And then I guess we'll just tape up the inlets so we don't get any paint in there accidentally, and then we'll be good to go. Let's give it a clean. I'm super chuffed I got this off. All right, I've got the manifold, I've taped everything up so it's ready to be painted, but I've just gone over the instructions on the paint, and it says to make sure it's all clean, ready to go, blah, 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 scuff surface, blah, 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 make sure that the metal is bare and shiny. And unfortunately, this doesn't look bare and shiny. So what I think I'm gonna do is I actually have a little wire brush tool on the Dremel. So I might plug in the Dremel, get the wire brush, and try and, I don't know, tidy this up a little bit so it gets to that shiny bare metal look. And then we should be ready to paint. But I think we'll try that first just to make sure it's 100% clean before we hit it with any paint, and see how that goes, I guess. That took literally forever, but look how good it looks. Look how much don't look at that side. Look how much nicer it looks. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna actually put this outside in the sun, let it dry, make sure it's got no moisture or water or anything else still on it, and then we'll get ready to paint it. Very exciting. All right, I know it's probably not the neatest thing in the world, but I've got them hung up, I've got them taped up, they're drying, they're ready to go. So what I think we're gonna do is hit these with some paint. So I've got the heat shield here. The heat shield's hanging up as well. I don't know how well this is gonna go trying to paint that, but no harm but to try, I guess. Let's see what it's like. Okay, so I've done the first coat. Now what I need to do is wait 10 minutes to do another light coat, and then when we wait another 10, we do a medium coat, and then we leave it. So it has to sit outside for 3 hours before we can handle it and put it back on the car. So I'm gonna do the other coats, and then I'll see you in 3 hours. All right, here is our heat shield. Look at that. Look at how nice that looks. So this is the underside. This is what it did look like. And this is what it looks like now. So that's the heat shield. That's gonna go on top of the exhaust headers. And then these are the headers. Look at that. Now these aren't completely cured yet. They're only dry to touch so we can install them back on the car. But I'm very, very happy. I'm very, very excited. Look at them. Look at that. I can't believe how good these turned out. These look fantastic. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take the tape off the part where the gaskets go. We're gonna get this back onto the car, and then I'm gonna jump underneath, attach the bottom part, and then we're gonna run through the curing process. There's a couple of things we need to do to make sure that this cures properly on the car, but we'll get them fitted first and then work it out. All right, let's get these in here. Try and line them back up without scratching any of this new paint. Look at that. God, that makes such a big difference. All right, let's get the nuts. We'll put these on loose, and then we'll jump underneath the car, try and line them all back up again, and get these bolted down. All right, so I've got the top of the header already fitted, so that's attached to the block. Now what we're gonna do is grab the GoPro, get under the car, and then try attaching the things down the bottom. So I'll grab the GoPro, we'll have a bit of a look. All right, so all we have to do now is get these two bolt holes to line up, put these bolts in here at the back, and then we should be good to go. There is also a bolt right here that hangs the lower part of the exhaust to the chassis. So we'll go through, put all of those bolts in the spots they need to be, and hopefully we should be good to start this curing process. Let's do it. Okay, so I've pretty much got everything done. Everything's bolted back on, everything from underneath is all bolted in. I'm pretty sure I haven't missed anything. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna start the curing process. So this is gonna take me like maybe an hour and a half of getting things done, and it's literally just me starting the car, stopping the car, letting it cool down, letting it heat back up again. It's gonna be a very, very boring process. So I'm gonna go through everything I need to do to get this to cure, and then tomorrow we'll have a look at it and see how it went. I'll see you in the morning.
A few moments later.
Good morning. I am so freaking tired. So yesterday we got a lot more done than I thought we would. We painted them, we did the curing process yesterday afternoon. I got the headers and everything back on, and it all seems to be fine. There's no leaks. I'm very, very happy. So like I said yesterday, there's a way that you can cure this paint on the car, which is the reason that I went for it. So what we had to do was run the car for 10 minutes and then let it cool completely for 20. And then we had to run it again for 20 minutes and then let it cool for another 20. And then I had to take it for a 30-minute drive under normal operating conditions. And that's it. Let it cool completely overnight, and the paint is cured. So I haven't actually looked at it yet since we finished it yesterday. I have no idea what it looks like. It could be really good, it could be really bad. I've genuinely got no idea. It's beautiful and sunny outside, so we're gonna go out there, have a look at the headers, and just see if we did a good or a bad job. I am very nervous to have a look at the car, so let's go. I don't know about you, but that looks a million times better than I thought it was going to. I'm genuinely so happy with how good that looks. I did not think it was gonna look that nice, so what a pleasant surprise on a Sunday morning. I've never done anything like this. I had no idea how it was gonna go. I had no idea how to get the manifold off, but It's all part of it, and I didn't think it was that bad. I think we did okay. From somebody who's never done anything like that, if you want to try this out, it's not as hard as you think it is. Just be patient, try and think about it logically, and just make sure you have some WD-40 on hand in case some of these bolts get a bit stubborn. But for reference, again, this is the paint that we use. This is called VHT Flameproof paint. It comes in a bunch of different colors. And like I've said a million times, the reason we went this is because you can cure it on the car. And I am very happy with how that process went. The thought of having to paint an exhaust header and then chuck it in my oven in the house is just not gonna happen. So to have an option that you can actually do it on the car, you haven't got to use your kitchen appliances to cure car parts, this is a win, man. This is such a good product. If you want to check this one out for whatever reason, I'll leave a link to it in the description so you can check out the rest of the colors and other stuff they do, because it's, I don't know, works well. I've had this on my list for a very long time and I'm just still so happy that it's done. If you guys like this video, don't forget to leave it a thumbs up. Also subscribe. I post new videos every week and you don't want to miss them. Don't forget to follow all of our social media. I'll leave the links in the description. Other than that, I will see you next week. I love your faces. Bye.